What is up, bros? It's Jay here, giving you Game 2, Round 3 of MLG Providence Qualifiers. This is once again from Epik. Point of view, Dandin specifically. Once again, they're up against Goose here. First game, obviously, a little more one-sided. It turned into one-sided, let's just say. It started out really close, kind of actually boring, a little bit of a farm fest, you might say. And then eventually some good team fights came in. Kennen proved to be extremely useful in those, especially with all his stuns. And they eventually just, turned it around them. And once you get those Dragon and Baron advantages, it's really hard to come back. And eventually Goose did end up forfeiting. So now we're looking at Game 2 here. Obviously, I can see there's some strategy change-ups. Need to say Dandin, first of all, is now jungling. I'm going to have to assume Riven was banned out because he has just been such a dominating force from Westrice. And Westrice, though, very, very well known in the community for Zakali as well. So I'm not sure how much better this is going to go for them, but I guess we'll have to see. Anyways, here we go with the lineup. Like I said, it's Rammus on jungle, Akali, Kennen, Karthus, and Soraka. So off the bat, what I'm going to notice here is no AD hard carry, which is really bizarre to me. Some interesting team composition. And they're against Goose, who has Kog'Maw, Sona, Udyr, Xerath, and Jungle Riven. So they actually stole Riven. This is why you should probably look at the menu before I start casting. But there you go. So they took that Riven pick, and instead they're like, you know what? We have Rammus. We like him. Let's use him. And he obviously proves to be useful. I believe he was actually used also in that Game 1. Or was it the Riven? Either way, I've seen some Rammus seem very viable for those ganks. And you saw how quickly actually that blue got taken out. Very quickly. He got a lot of assistance. That's going to help him get off to a good start. Obviously, he's not going down there. And here's the lanes. We got Karthus, Soraka versus Kog'Maw and Sona. I can't say I've ever seen this done before. I have seen AP down there a couple times. What became sort of common, what you would see a brand with a Taric, and they would just stun lock and kill someone very quickly. But Karthus and Soraka, I don't know how I feel about exactly. I mean, Karthus can get farmed pretty easily with his Qs, which is nice. Getting a little visual bug. Hopefully that fixes itself at some point here. But, actually, a gank on Westrice, and he's fine. He actually, believe he uses Ignite on that Udyr, so it was kind of a waste. But they're already putting that pressure on top, and they've actually done that before last game. They really want to try to keep down that lane, and since, I guess he decided, right from blue, he was going to go up and put that pressure. And here comes Rammus to support his buddy, because for all we know, Riven's still sitting here in this brush. And I, of course, is wrong. But, anyways, let's go around here. It's going to be Xerath versus Kennen in the middle here. And so far, pretty even farm-wise. They both, of course, went boot health pot, very common. Starting pickups. Rammus was caught, seen there. He's still trying to put that pressure, though. Here he comes. He's going to land a taunt after this, but it's not going to do a lot. Just a little bit of harass, I guess. He did like maybe 80 damage total. Not exactly what he's looking for, but anyways, Kog'Maw Sona really pushing this lane hard down here. I guess trying to make it hard for this Karthus to last hit, but with his Q and E, he can really kill the minions with little trouble, you would think. So Riven now missing. Where'd he go? Well, I'm assuming he went to get his red buff after he blue pilled, and maybe looking to step a gank. Kennen possibly the target? I mean, bottom lane is just constantly pushed, so there's no room for a gank down there for Riven. Rammus, on the other hand, he could easily go down there. Even with a ward, he's so quick to get there, he could cause some trouble. So we'll see if he takes advantage of that, in the next few minutes. Let's take a quick look at farm since we started out here. Peter Rammus is probably a little bit ahead, but then again, I haven't been able to see Riven, so we're not sure how he's doing in farm. Kali 24 to Udyr's 5. Wow, so that's a huge drop off there. Probably because they tried to go for that gank and kind of failed, so Udyr had to blue pill back. So obviously not paying off for him in the end. Kennen 26 to Xerath 29, so it's pretty much even. And then bottom we got the 17 Karthus and the 28 Cogwheel, so big advantage there for Goose actually. And you know, in game 1, Goose actually was farming a little bit better bottom lane as well. So it seems to be a kind of common thing, but you know, it's hard to make a pattern with just 2 games. But you know, if it's a 10 kill difference though, 10, 20, it's not a big difference. It's not enough to, you know, change a game. I mean, 10 creep kills is approximately 200 gold, something around there. And all that is not even a hero kill. Hero kill is around 250 to 300 gold, so just goes to show you how little that really is as an advantage. I have to say though, my initial take here is that I really prefer this Cogwheel Sona. I mean, as much as you do want to farm Karthus, I guess what my main concern is for Epik is that they have so much AP that they stack good amount of magic resist on Goose. You know, they're going to be able to do a lot better in team fights, or that would be my initial take on it. I mean, Akali does do both attack damage and AP. Generally builds like that Gunblade to get that burst damage, similar to like a Jax kind of build. So, you know, she's still very bursty. Even with magic resist, she can get that magic pen from the Void Staff. You know, there's different roads to go down. I actually haven't gone over summoners, but before I do that, here comes a gank. Riven's coming up there. Westerice puts down his invisibility, but he can't even get to it because he gets just stun locked from that Baron Riven. Excellent play there. Caught him completely off guard. Even in the brush, you know, they take advantage of that using that CV, and he had nowhere to go. Excellent kill. And that's exactly what a Riven needs to do. And I kind of wish Rammus would be a little more active than he is right now. He did help out initially with that Udyr top, but bottom's just all game been, you know, nothing. And, you know, I guess the only reason they might be trying to avoid it is because Karthus' damage is so low in the beginning of the game that, and then, of course, Soraka, you know, there's no burst damage on that, let's be honest. So I guess maybe they feel like it would not lead to a kill, you know, with the flashes and whatnot. Once again, this is you know, this is definitely not with that patch that nerfed Flash and changed match and everything. So Flash is still a very great, you know, summoner choice here. Now I have a second. Let me try to get over these summoners. Akali going Ignite Flash as well as Cannon, same thing. The Exhaust Flash on Karthus. So I guess they want to have one exhaust in their team for maybe against Udyr or probably Cogwheel. Actually, that makes the most sense against his attack speed. And then of course Clairvoyance Flash and Smite Flash on the jungles and support. Here comes a gank. Actually, Rammus coming in. Here's the exhaust. It's a flash. Flash also from Rammus, and they completely caught Cogwheel, but he ends up still getting a kill on Karthus before he dies. Karthus dings 6 in there, drops his ulti, but now they run to a Riven. Lots of trouble there. Riven is level 6. He used his sword. He's ready to pop his ulti. There it is. And let's see if they can finish it off. A flash actually comes in from Xerath. Now they're trying to finish this off. Can't do it. Soraka's going to survive. But great movement there from Riven and Xerath to, you know, ensure that there's some deaths coming about for that gank. Because they'd use those flashes to try to kill Cogwheel. And even though they killed Cogwheel, you know, he still got a kill. So definitely not worth it on the part of Epik. They definitely traded 2 for 1 there. So, you know, in all, not a great idea. Akali going back to probably get his Hectech. No, I guess not. Figure why not. I'll just stick around for another wave. Actually finds Udyr. And he does not want to fight that one-on-one quite yet. Udyr is very good at tanking one-on-one. He can just heal back up after he does his damage. So, you know, not a great idea. Then again, Akali also is really good, especially when she gets that Hex Tech. Doesn't have it quite yet. When she gets the Hex Tech Revolver, though, she'll be able to Lifesteal or Spell Vamp back up. And with her passive, which also gives Spell Vamp, you know, it's just a lot of healing. So I guess we'll see how that goes off. That's probably going to be based more on ganks than actually one-on-one there. Otherwise, I don't see really anyone dying. There is a teleport actually for Udyr, so I didn't finish summoners for Goose. There's a teleport for Udyr, not for Kali. So if they end up getting like a good gank bottom, like they kill maybe a Karthus or something, then, you know, with the Udyr teleport, they could easily take Dragon. And I mean, Akali is not the best tower pusher. She can do it, but you know, she's not as good as, like, say, Udyr or something. So, Xerath backs up, probably going to start buying. Meanwhile, bottom. So, doesn't look like he's on Wriggles like Dan didn't prefer it on Kog'Maw. He looks like he's going straight for that Wit's End because he has that recurve bow and null magic mantle. And this is actually what I was exactly saying. You know, Wit's End against his team, amazing pickup. I mean, it's good on Kog'Maw anyways, but against a strong AP team, he's going to have that nice magic resist and attack speed. I mean, it's just synergizes so well against their lineup. So, definitely a great pickup. Xerath actually was the one who got the kill on Rammus, it looks like, and hit that double ball. Kennen flashes in. Here it comes. Rammus gets the taunt to help him out, and that is going to save Kennen's life. Great job there by Dan to be aware of that fight going on, coming at the last second to taunt. Because I think, honestly, if Xerath got to cast his ulti 2 more times, that Kennen could have died potentially. So, great job. He's like, you know what? I want that blue and red back. Don't tase me, bro. I'm sorry, that was really lame. Let's not ever say that again. Meanwhile, Sona coming through here. I guess looking to ward. Yes, he's going to ward to, you know, the river to see when Rammus is coming through. And actually, here comes Rammus now. He's going to run right into him. Get that taunt. Nice try on the ulti, but he has no chance of living, let's be honest. Yeah, that was pretty rude, actually. Karthus picked up a Catalyst. Probably going to go for a Rod of Ages. No surprise there. It's pretty common. He needs his mana and whatnot. Kennen actually getting a little harassment from Riven. And Xerath is back, so he's going to need to fall back. Meanwhile, top, let's look at that creep score. It's 77 Akali versus a 50 Udyr, so she still got that nice, pretty substantial lead. But she did have a death. So, you know, all in all, it's actually probably pretty close in gold. Udyr building, he actually has Mercury Treads. And against this heavy magic team, you know, I mean, you see Udyrs get a Ninja Tabi pretty often, but, you know, there's no reason on this game. I mean, who's going to auto-attack you? Maybe a Kennen and a Kali occasionally, but they're all burst heroes, so really, yeah, Mercury tried a much better pickup. So, yeah, good choice there. Xerath probably going, yes, he's going for the Doran's Rings and a Blasting Run. So it looks like he might just go straight for that Death Cap and just try to pump out some nice artillery damage, which is, of course, what he's known for doing. Meanwhile, Karthus, did he buy again? Actually buys an Amplifying Tome. Interesting. So I'm not sure exactly what he's going to do with that. You know, I was expecting the Rod of Ages next, but maybe he just wanted to buy and he had to be. So he's like, you know what? I'll use it sometime, right? Whatever. Meanwhile, back in middle, Kennen has his Hex Tech along with Akali. Both of them have that picked up. Akali obviously building towards the Gunblade. Kennen probably going for that Will of the Ancients first. We'll see what he picks up after he blue pills. Very common. And then going into like a Death Cap or something. Rammus actually getting a little called out here, but besides use the flash there may not have been necessary. It looked like they were kind of done with that fight, and it was just really Sona harassing, but he's like, you know, I don't want to risk it. And he has that double buff, and he knew the last time he went in there, he lost it, so he's, forget it, you know. They're going to give that red buff to Riven. She's probably going to look to gank, going, of course, for the Brutalizer, very common. And so, yeah. No towers pushed as of yet. It's just kind of a farm fest. The ganking's cooled off a lot. Rammus now just kind of sticking to his own jungle after those ganks, trying to get that farm up. He has a Heart of Gold and Philistone and Ninja Tabi. So he's ready to do his job, I guess, as tank. Ninja Tabi could be considered a little contradictory for the Rammus champion of how his abilities work. You know, he has the taunt, of course, makes you attack him. And then, you know, his other move, I believe it's defensive ball curl. Yes, he gains, you know, armor magic resist, and then he returns damage to attackers. But if you never hit him, you can't return that damage. But, you know, obviously late game, that damage is pretty minimal compared to someone auto-attacking you. Like a Riven and Udyr. Actually, gank, there's the pink ward down. Akali decides to flash out, but here comes Riven with a red. There is no way Akali's going to survive this. Yeah, she drops. Great setup. This Riven's been all over the place. Then again, though, Akali was pushed out substantially, you know, around here. And with a Riven on the other team, and the only ward you have is in this brush, you know, you have no vision of this river, which is shocking. Because, you know, from seeing these other Epic games, they usually do a really good job of warding all these spots where you expect the jungler to come from. So to not have that river warded kind of throws me off a little bit. But it's really making Akali pay. Actually, has a little taunt, trying to make him take that damage. He obviously pops his ulti too. You'll see that happen very common with Ramesses. It's a 60-second cooldown, and it clears waves and does damage to towers. Very, very handy, and there's no point in really saving it because, yeah, it just comes off cooldown so quickly. Meanwhile, Karthus goes Hextech Revolver too. Interesting. And maybe for sustain, but you have a Soraka, so I'm not sure I agree with that. If I had Karthus on the team, I kind of want him to build just straight up damage. Not say Hextech Revolver. I mean, it does give, I believe it's 40 ability power with that spell vamp, so it does give some. But you really want him to get that, you know, AP, like get that death cap, get that Rod of Ages, you know. Actually, here comes a gang trying to set up, to no avail. The CV caught him way before he came in there. Is he going to actually look to set up a dragon? No, he's going to go and set that blue for himself, possibly. Akali getting zoned, on the other hand, by this Udyr who finished his Wriggles. So now they're ready to do that dragon. That's what I'm thinking. He built that Wriggles. He's got his teleport. Akali can't stun. He can do a lot of burst, but can't stun. So what I'm going to assume is come up here. West Racing's probably going to come down. And actually, great. See, this is the vision I was looking for. Maybe top, not as much, but, you know, they have River, Dragon, Brush. They know where Riven would be on this bottom half of the map. So, good job there. Riven actually came middle. But, like I said, I'm expecting them to all kind of shift down here from Goose. Prepare for that dragon, and then Udyr just teleport in. And, you know, easy one for them, because Akali, it'll just be 4v5, and Akali can't get down there nearly in time. So, we'll see what happens, you know. In the meantime, Wit's End finished on the Cogmaul, and now he looks like he's going for Mercury Treads himself instead of more attack speed. Berserker Greaves, love him, hate him, you know, there's different opinions on him in the community. You know, I could see it be a good pickup here, but at the same time, I guess they just really don't want to get taunted for that long duration. It is a long duration, I believe it's 2.5 seconds. I mean, that's enough time for any of these nukers to really tear you apart, especially Cogmaul, who has essentially no escape, you know, mechanism built in. So, yeah, not a good idea to be taunted for a long time. Anyways, this visual bug looks like it's going to happen all game. So, new skin possibly for Xerath. I'm not sure what they were going with this, but, you know, either way, it's pretty sweet. Riven came bottom. This is the shift I was looking for, and Riven, Sona. Actually, Dragon was already started by Epik, so they prepared for that. Akali came down, and there it is, the smite, and they took Dragon. So they preemptively, you know, they probably saw that coming themselves with the Udyr teleport. They're like, you know, we gotta do it first before they get done, because otherwise, if Akali was up there, they could have easily started that. So, you know, great preemptive job there. The score's now 3-4 with the Dragon in favor of Epik. So they definitely have an advantage now. Creep score wise, you know, 130 to that 105. So Akali's still winning creep score, even though dying a couple times. 155 Cogmaul to 150. Actually, Karthus making a good comeback. It's pretty much dead even down there. And then Kennen with 167 compared to 148 Xerath. Action down bottom. Sona comes in, drops the ult. But there's not enough damage. Here comes Ramus from behind. Gonna taunt that Cogmaul, of course. Soraka using that star call, saying, come on, we're gonna burn you down. And it's just not enough damage on either side. Does make him burn in the flash, though. So good job there. And you know what, actually, I like that about this Soraka synergizing. I didn't even mention that, but Soraka using that star call does lower magic resistance on target's hit. And it stacks, I believe it's 8 times. So, you know, stack that up with the all AP damage team, especially in like a team fight if it goes on for a little bit. Not to say you want your Soraka to be in the middle of the fight using Star Call, but I mean that's how I play Soraka, but I guess not professionally. So, you know, actually it's pretty good synergy. I like that about their lineup. That's interesting. Meanwhile, Kali does finish the Hextech Gunblade. And it looks like they might have lane swapped. Kenan's now top against Udyr. Did finish the Will of the Ancients and has that newly large rod. So obviously, I don't say obviously, could be going Death Cap, could be going, you know, possibly for that armor item that of course I'm blanking on now, where he can go Missile. Hourglass. There it is. Could be going for that. Either way, I mean, we'll have to see which he decides to build. I would probably advise him to get, if he would listen. I would think he would get that Hourglass because against his Kog'Maw and Xerath and Udyr, like if they start converging on him, he's really going to take that damage and he's not going to be able to take it well. I mean, the armor will help, but if he can just go invincible after popping that ultimate, they're not going to be able to kill him in time, and it's going to do all its full damage. So, you know, that would make the most sense to me. Meanwhile, Riven actually pops her ultimate to try to gank with that red buff. Has that Brutalizer, but not a whole lot else. Xerath, on the other hand, going straight for that Death Cap. So, trying to do that damage. Ram is rolling in. He's got a red buff too. Here he comes. He's going to get that initial hit. No, he's not. Gets behind the creeps wave. And actually, they went back to their original lanes, so I guess there was no switch. So, back to farming, I guess. The action's over until maybe the next Dragon or Baron, possibly. Riven taking over while Xerath's, I guess, blue pilling to buy more. I'd be probably finishing that Death Cap, I would have to assume. Ramus coming in bottom, uses his flash, gets the taunt on Kog'Maw, and Sona uses a nice defensive ultimate, and that's going to stop that aggression. So, you know, nice try there, the good taunt, but he does have the Mercury Tread, so it doesn't last that full duration. And it just wasn't enough damage. And he's still going for that Rod of Ages on Karthus, so he's going to have like a 25-minute Rod of Ages. You know, it takes, I think it's 15 minutes to get its full stacks up for health, mana, and ability power. So it's not going to be even really completely effective until the 40-45 minute mark. So, you know, interesting choice to delay and get that Hextech instead, but, or actually he has a Will too, so they have two Will the Ancients on their team. I mean, I guess they're not doing a whole lot of 5v5 team fights, so, you know, it could make sense, but I don't know. I think I'd personally I'd prefer that Rod of Ages first to get those stacks up, you know, that way it's more effective earlier on. Meanwhile, Ramus just doing his tanky thing, finishes Sunfire Cloak. Sunfire Cape. So now he does even more AoE damage when he taunts and gets in the middle of everyone. So pretty good pickup there. Of course, the armor works really well with the rest of his abilities because it's based on his armor, at least his defensive blow curls. And back to 2v1 top. Riven gonna try to start chasing down Sakali. Kali goes in on Riven actually. Balls deep, you know. He starts to ignite. He really wants this, but that causes a flash. I think Akali just flashed by accident. Doesn't look like that did any good. So, all in all, pretty moot point. Akali actually now going on Udyr, but Udyr's like, whatever, man. And has himself a Ruby Crystal. Probably going for that Spirit Visage, I would have to think. You know, to get that more regen, more tanky, magic resist. Good item all around. And actually, the tower just get pushed. It looks like Udyr decided to blue pill, and that was it. So Akali takes the first tower of the game. So now they have a dragon tower advantage. Much better off. And they also are still winning in that creep farm. It's in the 200s for 3 of them. And they only have one person in the 200s right now. So, yeah, it's definitely still an advantage for Epik. And this one developing probably just as slowly as that first game was, but slowly but surely Epik is creeping ahead. And actually here comes a gank from Ramus, rolls in, good flash, avoids the initial hit from that roll. You'd have to think with the taunt and Kennen, that could have been really deadly. And Kennen actually is deciding to do that death cap instead of the hourglass, so he's going for that burst big high AP damage. Karthus on the hand finishes the Rod of Ages finally, and now Dragon's up, and here they go. They are going for it. Udir's here too. They'll no need to teleport, and they're just doing this very quickly. High damage. But here comes the initiation. Ram is coming in. Karthus drops very quickly, and they actually catch Kennen 2 versus 1, but it's not going to matter because Kennen does a ton of damage. Here goes Bada. Gets a kill with his ultimate. Akali trying to finish off Kog'Maw, and it's going to be enough damage, but Akali is going to pay for it with her life. But all in all, it's a 2 for 3 trade and the dragon. So Epik comes out on top again. You know, smart decisions all around, except for maybe that Karthus going down right in the beginning. You know, I really liked how they played that one. They waited until Dragon was engaged with 2 or 3 champions, and at that last second, they decided to split. It was 2 champions kind of went up. That was Udyr and I believe Riven. And then the other 3 came down here. They killed Karthus, but then here came Rammus, and they were afraid, and they didn't know what to do. They were confused, and that really made them pay for it, because Ken dropped his ulti and did a ton of damage. So, you know, very powerful stuff there by Epik. Keep that advantage going. So, now we got a 2 dragon, 1 tower advantage in favor of Epik. Crazy visual bug going on for Xerath. Kind of cool still. Here comes the double ward. It's like, sup, dude? You know, I see you there. Kennen's still hanging on to his tower. Doesn't want to let go. And I believe, yeah, Xerath finished. Death Cap has another blasting wand. So I'm not sure what direction he's going to take that in. There's literally, I don't think there's any magic resist items at all for Team Epik, so Void Staff would not be, in my opinion, as effective as, say, other AP items. So, I don't know, we'll see what he decides to do with that. Rammus comes in, knows he's not going to catch him, has that beautiful double buff he loves so much. They might look to push this. I mean, with a Rammus ultimate, it's not difficult at all to push. Here comes Riven, hiding in the brush. He's looking to set something up on this Kennen for sure. But Rammus is actually going to do first draw here. Comes all the way across. He sees him, and oh, wow, what a fantastic dodge by Riven there. Leaps like literally right over the power ball and doesn't get hit by it. So fantastic job there. Udyr swings down. Nothing to swing down to though, so I guess it's back to farming. Kali now has needlessly large rod, so going straight death cap it looks like. Nah, you know, survivability is overrated. You know, I'd rather just kill everyone. That's kind of their mindset right now. They do have Soraka, which I guess I keep forgetting about. Like, you know, I keep talking about like not having survivability, but Soraka just, her heals are still pretty potent, even after getting nerfed in that patch. You know, however long ago, she still does have a lot of, you know, good heals. And here comes initiation. Rammus comes in, still gets the taunt. Sonal just a little bit too late. That's a dead Kog'Maw. And they're going to try to follow up. No, they're going to leave Son line. And that is gone. And what? Meanwhile, actually, middle, Riven Xerath take out that Kennen. Sorry I missed it, but it looks like it's a good initiation. That red buff, you know, slows you down, does some extra damage. And actually, Rammus sees him and he wants him. He gets the taunt. He does not get the taunt. Akali actually misses it, but Karthus, all it's going to be enough. And here comes a teleport by Udyr. Akali is going incredibly aggressive, way too aggressive, gets killed, and that's Westeros for you. He loves Akali maybe too much, you know, a little too full of himself there, and ends up not getting the kill. Bottom lane pushed by Karthus and Soraka. So now it's a 2-for-1 tower trade. I'm not sure what. I think Westeros definitely needed to fall back there. He had that safeguard, you know, when he popped down his shroud, but he just felt the urge to just dive in on him, and he almost got the kill. But you know, Udyr is just such a tank. Not a really smart decision, but oh well. They still have that advantage from 2 dragons in the tower and the farm, so I guess they have nothing really to worry about. Akali did finish her death cap. Rammus actually built a Warmog, and I guess what's kind of also common, even on Rammus's, is to get that Warmog into an Atma's. and then actually have some good attack damage as well as that armor. You kind of actually almost surprise them because it's like, oh, hey, I hit for 200. It's like, oh, aren't you Rammus the tank? Oh, yeah, that doesn't matter. You know, so Karthus in the meantime going for that death cap finally. Already a 300 AP without it, actually, so that's pretty high. And he's probably pretty close to that. Kennen actually built a Void Staff before building Death Cap, and I completely understand that. You know, this team understands the magic resist that is required against this team. And actually, Dandon gets caught off guard. He has to use Flash. Wow, that was some pretty high damage coming out of Xerath against him. He does literally have 69 magic resist as their tank. So I guess he's stacking that armor because that's more of his role. But you know, when you avoid going magic resist, it shows. Like right there is this death cap Xerath pumps out tons of damage. And actually, he also finished his void staff. So now that armor, forget about 40% of it. That magic armor, that's gone. So yeah, he's hitting like a truck. Something to keep thinking about. You know, you'd have to think in their team fight approach, they're going to try initiate on Kog'Maw every time, and this Kog'Maw not running cleanse is, very susceptible to that. So if they can get a Rammus to flash in, get the taunt, get the Powerball, Akali jumps in there, that's a very dead Kog'Maw very quickly. And then Xerath, on the other hand, will just be pumping out that damage from the back. So they're going to have to find a way to get past Riven and Udyr to kill him next. So I guess we'll see how they decide to do that. As I recall from the first game, Kennen would use his flash with his ultimate and just stun lock 2 or 3 of them. And that was super effective, obviously. Actually, here comes the counter warning. They're signing up for the Baron now. It's 30 minutes and this is around the time teams are starting to look to do it. This is when it'd be nice for one of them to have a teleport, I guess I want to say. So they could maybe push bottom lane out, have some wards, push it out, and then teleport in when this fight starts. Because right now they're all just kind of lollygagging in mid and just clearing creep waves. And that's doing good for no one. I think this is their second Oracles, so they really don't like Akali, which I can't blame them. Akali, a very strong hero, of course. But yeah, they have Udyr and Sona both have that Oracles. So I guess even if they get split up here, Dragon goes really quickly. Beautiful smite steal by Epik. They take the Dragon kill. Here comes the fight. Sona hits all of them with their ultimate. Xerath sniping from the back. Kennen drops his ultimate. And there goes Akali picking off Kog'Maw, like I was saying in their plan. Riven goes down. Udyr incredibly hurt, getting chased down. It looks like Karthus did in fact die, but he did end up using an ultimate to try to assist out. It was not enough to kill Udyr or any of the rest, unfortunately. But wow, what a fantastic smite steal for Dan Din there. Came in at the last second. It looks like Riven just mistimed that smite. And now they don't have that smite for Baron, but they don't care, because look at this damage. So high. Even without that AD, Karthus, Kennen, and Akali just doing massive amounts of damage to this Baron, and it's already dead. There's the Baron buff. So they get not only the Dragon Steel, but then Baron on top of that. That's going to definitely swing the momentum in their favor by a large favor. Expect them to go now heal and just push down at least one lane, if not more. Xerath after that fight. And honestly, what I want to comment about that, Xerath was in probably some of the best position for that fight. He was behind here using his long-range sniping moves during the fight. So he was doing his job very well. Didn't even have to burn flash or anything. He was safe. But the rest of his team just, of course, they're still stuck in that dragon because here comes Rammus initiating, steals it, and then gets a taunt at least on one with his ultimate going off. And that's when everyone else started jumping in. Akali jumps in, Karthus with his aura jumps in, and it's just so much damage that they just drop quickly. And Udyr, the only ones that live are like, Udyr, and then Xerath who was sniping. So at least the only thing that kind of went positively there, it wasn't much, but both their Oracles did survive that fight. But now, we'll look at this creep scores. Actually, Not as big. I mean, it's 284 cannon to 247, so that's a decent amount. Akali 263 to 201. That's actually a huge advantage. Take that back. And then you have 267 Karthus versus 280 Kog'Maw. And then the jungles, of course. I mean, Riven does have that advantage, but Rammus is doing his job to the third power. You know, he's now stolen that. He's doing the beautiful initiations in these team fights, and just 3850 health with 160 armor. You know, there's nothing else. Who's going to attack that? Honestly, I mean, it's so painful. And actually, he has a Shreya's Reverie now, which he can use to give his teammates a speed movement boost to, I guess, chase down their prey or whatnot. And now he actually has a Negatron Cloak, so he's going to probably look to build that into a Force of Nature, you know, which gives him that health, seriously high health regen, as well as some nice magic resist. So, you know, good selection there. And then I would have to think that Heart of Gold is going to get converted into, you know, I don't know. I was looking for that Atmos Impaler, but obviously it's not essential. He still has a good amount of damage even without that. But it would probably add at least another 50 or 60 or so, which would be nice for taking out towers and pushing lanes. So, who knows? I guess we'll see what happens next. Sona, generic, you know, 10 gold per 10 items, has a catalyst actually, which kind of throws me off a little bit. Maybe going to block spells. We'll see what happens. Udyr does have Spear Visage and Wit's End, so he's just going tanky, but he's not really putting out any damage. And he's not that tanky. I mean, he has some nice magic resist, but his health pool, you know, he's got 2600, but that's not very much at this stage in the game. Especially for all these, you know, big nukers. Xerath has a Fiendish Codex. Probably, I guess, going to turn that into Deathfire Grasp. For Rammus, I would think, I guess. I don't know for who they want to nuke down. Actually, Akali catching Xerath, but they're just waiting for that. And here comes Oracle. Riven uses that ultimate. Here comes Ken with that ultimate, though. Catches 3 of them. Karthus dropping his ultimate. And here comes the big damage. Actually, Ken needs to get back. Gets the heal from Soraka. Here's a taunt. Riven is going to definitely drop down. And that is a 3-for-1 trade on Akali. So Akali being very aggressive, you know, fantastic job there. Gets the Xerath, and that's the one I was saying is really hard for them to pick off. You know, generally in the back sniping everyone, but in this case, he's already dead. Does die after that 1-for-1 trade, but after that, they were just out of position, and here came Rammus with the taunt and their big burst damage, and it was definitely enough. So, you know, great job there. And now they're going to definitely swing down, take this middle lane after that. 4 seconds left on this Rammus ultimate. I mean, that just shows how short this cooldown is. I mean, he also does have that, you know, Golem blue buff, which reduces cooldown significantly. But in the end, yeah, they're doing just phenomenal play. And here comes Kennen. Soraka drops that middle tower. So now all their outer towers are pushed, and all they have left is the middle and bottom inner towers with inhibitors. So now they're going to have to be wary of this, you know, pushing top lane. They're going, I guess Udyr's going to try to push this out as much as he can so they don't have to worry about it. But when you do lose an inhibitor, even if it's just one, not only do you spawn that super creep minion who has 3,900 health compared to these 700 health minions, and he also hits for 310, so massive, massive minion there. On top of that, actually all the minions in the lanes get a little bit stronger, as you'll see here. 520 casters and 785 health minions versus 685 and 460. So no, it's not like huge, but it's enough that your lanes will generally outpush theirs if you just leave them alone completely and just let the creeps push. Yours will win every time. So it's interesting to note that as well, that now they have to deal with all 3 lanes essentially pushing on them, putting pressure on them, which causes them in turn to have to turtle for a while. And when you're turtling, you lose all that jungle. Actually, Rammus looking to set up something, coming in here against all 3 of them. Decides to chicken out last second. You know, don't blame him there. He does sell the Heart of Gold and gets the Atmos Impaler. So now he's at 250 attack damage. You know, 219 armor without his Power Ball, or Bulk Roll rather. So a lot of damage. Udyr taking a lot of damage already. Here's Xerath setting up, trying to do some damage. Just trying to kill these creeps who are just tanky as hell. And something's obviously about to erupt here. Flash is on cooldown for Rammus for another 80 seconds. It's unfortunate because that's been a great way they've initiated recently. I'm not sure about Kennen's Flash. He did actually finish his Zhonya's Hourglass. So, you know, now he's ready to jump in. 612 AP, that's just amazingly high. That's going to do a lot of damage with that Void Staff. I mean, whatever magic resist they have, cut it in half. You know, it's not a big deal at this point. And Udyr just trying to take the damage for them while Akali split pushing. So smart idea there. And Akali decides to get a Quicksilver Sash. You know, I guess if you look at it, it's a Riven stun, a Sona alt stun, and Udyr stun, Xerath stun. They have a lot of them. So, you know, add the magic resist to that. It's definitely a good pickup. Kennen jumps in. I missed it. Here comes the ultimate. Karth is dropping his ultimate now. And tons of damage being burst out. Xerath tries to flash out. They're all getting caught. Quadra kill. Oh, it does not get the penta. But that Kennen damage is so high with that ultimate. And that is definitely GG. Epik takes game 2, and they're going to win it all in the qualifier. So, great job there by Epik. Just amazing team play. You know, that Smite steal from Dan Din just really shows, you know, how dedicated these guys are to the game and how well they play. So congratulations to Epik. Thanks for tuning in to Broadcast. As always, keep watching us on our own .tv/broadcast site. And we actually also have a YouTube site now. It's youtube.com/thebroadcasts, all one word. Yeah, once again, thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great day.